I'm making the audiobook of my book PILLYWIGGIN. So I did the voiceover myself for 2 chapters to see if it's okay. What do you guys think? Is it horrible? Should I hire a narrator or should I continue? Um, Let me know. I appreciate your comments. And yikes. Okay. Let's go. Prequel. A shadowy figure carrying a small parcel runs frantically through the night forest through sheets of rain. Stepping clumsily into puddles, he searches for a path in blasts of light streaming from a fierce battle overhead. Wails and screams echo amidst the sound of dragon wings and fire, causing the figure to run faster. The forest ignites in light and dark contrasts as the fighting crashes violently to crescendo, then stops. The forest is suddenly pitch black and eerily silent. A shot of lightning shocks him to losing his grip, and the parcel drops and rolls in the mud. He feels around for the parcel, but when he recognizes the loud, slow, flapping sound of the wings of a large, fire-breathing dragon growing closer, he runs off. The dragon uses his fire to light the ground in search of something. As it nears, a pair of young hands gently pull the parcel into the shadows. Tosh, an indigenous boy about 5 years old, bolts through the darkness with the parcel clutched carefully under his arm. Making sure he is unseen, he quietly enters a camouflaged door in a tree trunk. Running down a familiar tunnel, he finally climbs up and steps out another door, entering his secret hideaway. Now that he is safe, he takes a long breath and unwraps the parcel, revealing a toddler with large eyeglasses and a toothless grin. Tosh brushes a little mud from her hair and is startled to discover a red birthmark on her neck. "I've seen that somewhere before," he whispers to himself, searching through his belongings. He finds a tattered page that had been torn from a book and compares the mark. It's a match. He looks back at the paper and mumbles to himself, "Whosoever bears this mark is of great importance to the realm." Gazing softly at the wiggly girl, he says, "You're the one. When you grow up, you'll be able to break all the evil spells on this place." Then he pauses and says solemnly, "If you fail, Hagla, the Wicked Witch of the Heatherworld, will take over." Of course, the toddler is more interested in the feather dangling from his hair. He tickles her tummy. "I guess I'm going to have to keep an eye on you." Chapter 1, 10 years later. That morning started out like the others. I knew I wasn't supposed to fly over the town, but I liked watching people come out of their houses and open their stores. The warm smell of fresh baked bread and apple cinnamon tarts smelled like home, or at least what I imagined a real home would be like. I knew better than to let anyone see me. Tasha Hanka had warned me many times. Penstemon was a quaint village with cozy cottages, blossoming flower baskets, and cobblestone streets, nestled in the rolling hills of northern tip of Delaware, U.S. The founders, legend had it, had stowed away on a ship called the Half Moon, which was bound for Asia. But when the captain got lost and ended up in Delaware, they made the best of it. The townspeople had forgotten the tragedy that had occurred after their losing the epic battle, and more importantly, what came before it. If I had known then what I know now, well, isn't that what people always say when something has gone terribly wrong? I flew high enough to be taken for a bird. In fact, so high that my shadow normally didn't touch the ground until I had passed over the palace of Penstemon. The fairy castle towered over the cozy town of Penstemon Forest, a lovely pond, and way off on the far side, a trailer park village called Bladderwhack. That day, I didn't make it past the bakery. I was compelled by the intoxicating fragrance of cinnamon and warm-baked goodness. Within moments, I had climbed in the back window of the bakery and opened the door behind the counter just enough to peek inside. The baker, Mrs. B, which was short for Bagel Snitch, was out on the patio wiping the dew off tabletops. I don't know how long I had crouched behind that display case. The case was steamy from the warmth of muffins and sweet-smelling breads. I was mesmerized. Thankfully, the ding of the oven timer woke me up. I placed $2 and change by the cash register, then picked up a pot holder and reached for the oven door. The sound of footsteps crept toward me. "Is someone there?" Mrs. B said, glancing my way. I darted for the back window. The money I left by the cash register and the 2 missing muffins caught her eye. I stuck out just in time, or so I thought. Tosh caught me. He was red-faced and huffing so much that his exhales steamed up the chilly air around him. "How many times have I warned you not to go to town without me?" he said. Tosh seemed always to be angry back then. "I got you one." He yanked me out the window and straight up into the sky. Tosh. His real name was Tashahunka, but who has time to say all that? I called him Tosh. Anyway, he took care of me in those days. Kind of like a mad dad, even though he was only a few years older than me. He had the most beautiful angular wings that fell behind him like a cape, and his shiny black hair was tied back and decorated with a single eagle feather. He was the last living member of his tribe. He never stayed mad at me for very long. His anger was like a disguise. He never did anything to hurt me. The opposite, in fact. He was my protector. All it ever took was a wide smile to bring the sparkle back in his eyes. We stopped above the clouds, using them for cover from the town. "Fly above me," he huffed, lightening up a little when I placed a warm muffin in his hand. We flew in unison, barely making a shadow on the rooftops. Townspeople below greeted each other politely as they went about their business. "I don't see what's so dangerous." "Rules are made for a reason," Tosh warned. Tosh was extra cautious as we glided over the guards of Penstemon Palace. We zigzagged so our shadow combined with dark crevices in the architecture. As soon as we reached Penstemon Forest, I split off, gliding lower through the trees. I was told that flying through the forest was more dangerous than flying over the town. I didn't see how. Below, the woods were so thick with trees and bushes that I had to swerve to avoid them. Okay, maybe I did fly too fast, especially for a girl my age. I was 7 then, about 7, I guess. It was a game to me. I liked watching my shadow flicker in this filtered sunlight and changing levels, flying high and low, staying in the shadows and playing with the light, being invisible. Traveling over the pond was my least favorite part. I was goofy looking. The indigenous style that Tosh braided my hair in made me look like a boy. My clothes were, well, his, tailored for me, but nothing like the beautiful designer dresses all the girls in Penstemon wore. But the worst of it was my glasses. I was the only person in the realm who wore glasses, and they were much too large for my face. I didn't really mind. I mean, I liked being able to see. I just didn't want to look at myself in the glistening reflection of the pond. So, I normally flew backwards, toes first, disrupting the surface of the water with a ripple that resembled a funhouse mirror. Sometimes I crashed on the beach on the other side, but I learned to roll out of it. I always took a deep breath before I flew to the top of the rocky hill on the southern tip of the pond. It was like I was gathering my courage. This edge of the forest bordered on a hellish place known as the Heatherworld. The lands were protected by a force field dome, keeping what was inside from getting out. The force field kept us from getting in it too, although it didn't have to. No one in their right mind would even try it. The atmospheric disturbance of the force field reflected the sunrise, making it pretty in sharp contrast to the barren landscape inside. Crows and dragons circled above the rock and bone-filled valley, where an eerie, twisted castle spiraled up from the center. "What are you doing? Do you have a death wish today?" Tosh was genuinely angry, so much that his voice cracked. "I told you to stay away from here. How many times do I have to warn you?" "What's the harm?" I said. "You said yourself that they can't get out." "They'll see you." "So?" I was drawn to it. I never told him that. I knew better than to get too close. From inside the force field dome, a disheveled, underfed crow eyed me as if I was dinner. Tosh pulled me back into the woods, but as he did, I couldn't take my eyes off the twisted castle. It was creepy. Every day that I flew by it, chills went up my spine. Still, every day I snuck up to look at it. I couldn't help it. It was like it was calling to me. Little did I know that the real mystery wasn't the twisted castle. It was what lived beneath it.